It's time now for a look at the latest in local news. In the news, the Wayne County Board of Education met Tuesday afternoon, and Amy Denny on hand with an update on the numbers, breaking down how many students in Wayne County are attending school in person and how many are staying home and learning virtually. Stats showed 19% have chosen to stay at home, while the remaining 81% have opted to attend school in person. Here was a report Tuesday by Amy Denny at the school board meeting.
Right now, or as of last Thursday, our total enrollment was 4,952 students. In person, we have 3,982 students, and we have 967 virtual learners. And that is right at 19.5% of our students are virtual learners right now. And so this is just a visual of the breakdown by grade level, and you can see the specific numbers in each grade level. Our highest number of virtual learners is in 5th grade. We have 105 5th graders learning virtual. And staffing for our virtual program, we have 15 teachers who are 100% virtual. Most of those being at the elementary level, a couple of those being at the high school level. And so that means that principals were able to rework schedules, and those teachers have full class loads all day long, and they're engaging with students virtually all during the day. 8 of our teachers teach half a day virtually and half a day in person, and this is usually in the case in elementary schools where we have 2-person teams, and so one of the team members is able to teach virtually in the morning, and then she teaches in-person students in the afternoon, and they flip-flop. And so that was a creative way to use our staff to serve our students. 32 of our teachers are receiving additional compensation for supporting virtual learners after school hours. The majority of those are middle and high school teachers. There are a few elementary teachers that fall into that category where our numbers did not work out quite as cleanly. And approximately 30 teachers are supporting a few virtual learners for a portion of the school day. And Ms. Collins may talk about this. For example, in a lot of cases in our special ed department, we were able to move students around to free up a segment of time for a teacher to work virtually with students. Almost all of our gifted teachers are working in that same format. They may have a free segment during the day where they're serving virtual learners. And they might be serving, multi-grade virtual learners at the same time, but that has worked out so that we can provide them some time to do that during the school day, and it doesn't end up costing the school board any additional funds to do that.
In other news, the superintendent gave an update on the school board's governance virtual training, saying that it's ready to be submitted to the state and that Wayne County's board has met all the requirements. The board went into executive session and approved the following personnel: certified resignation, Melissa Kent, Jessup Elementary. Classified recommendations, Brett Grover, Transportation. Classified resignations, Jack Madry, Transportation. Tawana Mupaw, James E. Bacon, Parapro, and Travis Walling, Transportation. We'll be back with more news after this word from our sponsor, the commercial messages, so please stay tuned. In other news, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger announced Tuesday that about 1,000 Georgians face an investigation and possible criminal charges for voting twice in the June 9th primary, a large-scale allegation of fraud 8 weeks before Election Day in November. These voters returned absentee ballots and then showed up in person on Election Day and voted twice, according to the Secretary of State. Double voting is a felony in the state of Georgia. Raffensperger says in his press release that a double voter knows exactly what they're doing, diluting the votes of each and every voter that follows the law. Raffensperger says he will not stand for this, and he says a full investigation is ongoing. He says he plans to prosecute those that they know intentionally broke the law. Voters are allowed to cancel their absentee ballots and then vote at the polling places as long as their ballots have not yet been received by election officials. It's unclear whether the voters under investigation attempted to do so. Raffensperger says suspected double voters are responsible because they knew they had returned an absentee ballot but then proceeded to vote at a precinct. He says each voter should only cast one vote. process of checking and canceling absentee ballots for voters who came to the polling place on Election Day sometimes broke down. Voting records were not always updated, or poll workers were not able to get through clogged phone lines to confirm that an absentee ballot had been returned. County election officials stopped people from voting twice when elections records showed absentee ballots are already been received. Raffensperger insisted those that are caught double voting will be met with criminal prosecution. Double voting is punishable by 1 to 10 years in prison and a fine of up to $100,000. Raffensperger says Georgia Attorney General's office and local prosecutors will decide whether to bring charges on a case-by-case basis. And the state that double voting on both sides of the aisle, about 60% of the double votes cast requested Democratic ballots, while 40% requested Republican ballots. Nonpartisan ballots were not included in the calculation. List of the voters who allegedly did the double voting was not disclosed because the case is under investigation. Raffensperger says the double voting did not change the outcome of any races in the state of Georgia. We'll come back with some final news notes after this word from our sponsor of the commercial messages, so please stay tuned. Tuesday marked 1 year that the Golden Ray capsized off St. Simon's Island, and for the past year, the 656-foot car carrier sits on its side in St. Simon's Sound. In late July, the operations to cut the lift ship from the water were halted for a number of reasons, including COVID-19 and other delays that pushed the salvage closer to hurricane season. Now, the current target for removal is the first week in October. The U.S. Coast Guard says that is subject to change. All 24 crew members survived, with 4 having to be rescued from the capsized ship. Officials with the Unified Command, which includes the U.S. Coast Guard, and says the barrier now extends across 34 acres around the site, with a net panel was to catch any debris. As they wait to begin removal, crews continue to monitor the ship's stability and pollution releases and are conducting safety drills while minimizing workers' exposure to the COVID virus. Finally, in the news, U.S. Representative Doug Collins spoke at the U.S. Farmers Market last Thursday as he brought his campaign for the U.S. Senate seat to Wayne County. Collins, again, running for that U.S. Senate seat against Kelly Loeffler and 20 other candidates in the race. These were some of his comments this past Thursday, talking about his issue about people not standing for the flag.
That Pledge of Allegiance. There's one thing I remember back when I was in Iraq, and I did a memorial service for one of our men who were coming home not the way they intended. They had lost their life in Iraq, and we did have a memorial service. I can still remember the national anthem being played, and there's no other place you do except stand up, put your hand on your heart, and you don't ever do that. Unfortunately, Senator Loeffler last year said it's okay to protest the flag. That's part of who we are. I don't know about you down here in Jessup, Georgia, but that ain't the way I was raised. We stand, we salute, because that flag still means something there. If you wonder, I'll give you a preview in just a minute. You're going to tell lies about me, I'm going to tell the truth about you. We're going to understand today. So we got out of that. I pastored for 11 years, and then went back in 2005. I went back and went to law school. So yes, I'm a pastor and a lawyer. Some of you are saying, oh God, I got pastor and then I got politician. I didn't understand it. I made it real simple. Some people have asked me, how can you be a pastor and a politician? Bobby asked me that come time. I said, any of you ever been in a Baptist deacons meeting? You understand completely at that point. I learned how to do it a long time ago. And then also from being a part of somebody in our community. And I was elected to the state legislature when I was in law school, my first year of law school, finished out law school while I was in the state legislature, and then was elected to Congress in 2012. We've actually been up there doing stuff while we've been up there. How we affect our agricultural economy, how we actually work on our disaster relief, how we worked over here on the port in the Savannah River. I've been representing that for a long time. I don't have to come up and make up bills and make political statements, because we actually have real bills that we've actually worked on. Ones that have helped our industries and our trade secrecy issues. We have folks with our First Step Act. We folks in our music and entertainment field, we've actually helped them get paid because we had a 100-year-old system. We've been working to get things passed. I've passed more pieces of legislation than most any congressman that's been in Washington, D.C. in years from the state of Georgia. Why? Because that's what you do.
Once again, those comments of U.S. Representative Doug Collins, again, running for that U.S. Senate seat. Again, that race will be decided in November. There's 21 candidates in that race for the U.S. Senate seat. That's going to do it for the latest in local news. Sports comes your way in a few minutes. Bob Morganson, have a great day.